Maybe you've noticed it too, that lingering post-COVID malaise. We've been out of COVID for a while now. You might still be feeling some of the effects of it. I know I have. Have you, Jeff?
Absolutely. Yeah, it's funny. I was just talking to a colleague about that. And quite frankly, Raj, I don't know too many people that haven't told me things are different post COVID. I know for me, so I think about 3 years in was maybe two, it was like 2022 mid-year is when I got my COVID and I'd had malaise. For 6 months, I had long COVID.
Mm.
But I gotta tell you, like during when COVID first hit, and there was obviously a lot of terrible stuff, but also like I built a new website and I had this thing, and it was like, wow, I think when I should revisit how long and hard I'm working. And I feel like post COVID, me and a lot of clients that I've talked to, I don't know if it's a motivation thing, but there's something that's different.
Something is definitely different. I had COVID last fall, and I I think it's just took me a while to get back into the thick of it. But even before then, before I actually had COVID,
Right.
the environment of the entire
Right.
planet changed, and we're working remotely. And for me, that blurred line between I am now at work and I'm now at home is something that I've struggled with. And I know many people I know have. I'm recording this here in my basement office, and behind me is my drum set, which is what I use to entertain myself and enjoy. And at the same time, now this has become part of my office. So those little cues that have blurred the line, I think were a stepping stone to just that malaise. And it's something that I know that many people I know are struggling to shake off. And it's a couple of years after COVID now.
Yeah, I think in addition, so I've worked for a home for probably 2 decades, but people were because I had the whole downstairs was office, but I had people coming to see me in person, and I was still going to see other people. And recently had one of these um, client back to back where I was seeing them in person, and I remember thinking, "Oh wow, that's right. Like I used to do this a lot, and I miss it." And that's weird, right? Because I remember thinking, wow, this is great. I can be so much more productive. Maybe productivity isn't such a good thing, right? To a point. But the other thing I want to mention, Raj, as you said, is working out of your home in your basement. There's also something about constantly staying within this frame, right? Because we're doing all these video calls. I feel like it would even be slightly better if we're just on audio calls and pacing around and that kind of thing. I think there's something very taxing about the way that we have organized our lives and our work lives.
That's very true. I know that I think better when I walk. And so if we're always doing something on Zoom, I'm sitting down and I don't think as fast. When people say think on your feet, literally, I am walking, pacing back and forth.
Right.
The best deals I've negotiated are when I've got my headset on and I'm just like tearing up the
Yeah.
carpet in the room.
Yeah.
And so
Yes.
that's how it really, I engaged. And so I used to institute this thing with my staff when we were meeting in person of walking meetings. And so sometimes we
That's
just want to be
great.
sitting in the conference room. We just go take a walk outside and actually get a lot done. And I know there's a lot of people that have recommended ways to unblur the lines of work from home where you say, okay, at a certain time you stop and maybe you change into different clothes, or
Yeah.
this sofa is only for watching TV. It's never for putting your computer on, things like that. I don't know. I struggle with even getting those done because I'm sitting here like, oh, just another 10, 15 minutes or so. And I just keep going. And next thing at 6:30, where's dinner? And I don't know. Is that something that you're experiencing or?
Yeah. So again, so remember I worked from home for decades. And again,
Mm.
in our previous where we lived before, it was the downstairs. And so I was literally coming upstairs and shutting the door. And so I think habitually, well pre-COVID, I had these habits. And so in my current office where I am and where you see me now, when it's time to shut down, which for me, I try to make it 5 o'clock. I used to work until 10 o'clock at night, but I feel like it's 5 o'clock. I want to be done. Not only am I changing my clothes and am I turning down my office and getting ready for the next day, I literally every day I take the like pledge and I clean my desk surface. And it's a little ritual that I do, so I have a clean desk the next day. But I think ritual is important. And I think in addition to changing clothes and making sure you have your work clothes and your non-work clothes, I wonder what else people could do to create ritual around separating work from non-work.
It's almost like making your bed when you get up so that the next morning you have a tucked in bed. The next night, or that night, you have a tucked in bed to get into. Same kind of concept.
Yeah, and when you don't do that, it's if you go to your room and your bed is all unmade, you think, wow, like I must have had a pretty crazy day. Wow, I really rushed out of bed today. And so to your point, like doing habits repetitively, even when you're stressed, I think are critical as they create an anchor to structure your day.
Let me pivot now to another mental health concept of energy. And it's long COVID is, I mean, it's a real thing. People don't have as much energy as they did. And it's not because we're just a little bit older. I think there's some potentially medical thing that's happened to our bodies or to our minds and just the way we work. I'm not sure which is which. I'm not sure if there's a fuzzy line there either. Can you talk to that for a minute about?
Yeah, I think one of the things that COVID has done is it's increased productivity and increased demand. And I think we are underestimating the energy zappers that things like doing virtual calls all day or having no breaks between meetings or doing virtual calls and texting at the same time and picking up, turning your camera off and picking and mute and picking up the phone and doing all this other types of multitasking. I think that is zapping our energy. I really believe that if we restructured our work lives back to how they were, I think we would see energy pick up. The other thing is a lot of people picked some bad habits during COVID. I think there's been a reset of that where between eating and drinking and sleeping and um but I think if they haven't gotten back in the groove of good healthy habits, that's going to have an impact on their energy.
What are the things affect people's mindset and mental health when it comes to these post-COVID effects? You're a psychologist, you must be seeing, and you're a professional coach, so you see this in a lot of other executives. What are the other things that you're seeing that people are being affected by?
You mean what are some of the issues that are coming up for them?
Yeah.
In addition to two things that we nailed, which is motivation and energy, one of the biggest issues, and I know we're going to talk about this on another podcast, is the whole virtual environment, right? And so there seems to be a lot of folks are struggling with engagement. There's less engagement for some folks, but not for all folks. Productivity is going down. And when you lack community and lack engagement, it spirals all these other issues like conflicts and assuming bad intent and all these other things. And so all that are stuff that leaders are struggling with.
Now, we're doing this recording without a structure on what we're going to talk about because we both wanted to share with anybody who's watching that if you're feeling that post-COVID malaise, even now it's 2024 now as we record this, that you're not alone, that high-performing executives are feeling the same thing. Let me just pivot now to what can we do about it? What are the best steps to help restore your mental health to that state of higher energy, higher motivation?
Yeah. So first of all, think about now's a good time, and a lot of people did this during COVID, to reassess why do I do what I do? So I'm working in a particular career. Why? And so doing things that reconnect with your why, reconnect with your purpose, right? And if it's not aligned, then do something about it. So that's the first thing, right? Second thing is make sure that you maintain really good health habits, sleep, eating, nutrition, exercise, meditation, mindfulness, stress management, right? So that's two things. Third thing is create rituals where you are really putting a break between the workday and the non-workday. The other thing is mix things up. If you have virtual teams, make sure that you're doing activities that really increase engagement, but also suggest, which I do often, I'll say, hey, do you want to do a phone call instead of a virtual call? You could probably, at 4 o'clock, you could probably take a break from all your virtual meetings. And people have welcomed that, right?
Mm.
So I would say look for opportunities to break the mold in all the like agreements that we've had post COVID. Look for times to disrupt that and get back to what used to be a little bit of different kind of normalcy.
I like that. I like those very concrete examples of things you can do. And I think with that, we'll probably close out this podcast just so that people can sit back and just dwell on what they're going to be focusing on to create these rituals, which I love that idea. And also maybe do an audio meeting instead of a video meeting. That's also a really good one. I think I'm going to try that one tomorrow. And so, Jeff, thank you very much.
Yeah, always a pleasure, Raj.